Okay, good evening, everybody. I apologize in advance for this. I'm going to do my best. My handy dandy trusty vice president is going to take over if I can't manage. We're going to technically call the meeting to order, but we're starting with a public hearing for the first half hour. So we're calling this meeting to order at 6 o'clock, and we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Ross, which is great.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the December 4th, Phase 3 of the Centennial Project, the public information or public hearing. Most of you in the room know who I am. I'm Kim Ross, the superintendent. This is Jeff Rivenberg, the assistant superintendent. We kind of want to walk through. We did this virtually the other night. I really don't like this. We did this the other night virtually, and so it was great because it gave us a chance to kind of like test run our presentation. And the folks who are watching virtually or watching virtually again, it's the same presentation. All right, so celebrating 100 years, I'm going to hand over the mic to Mr. Rivenberg.
So as a part of our Centennial Project, when we went through our building condition survey with our architect, we had determined some maintenance things or some areas in the building that needed to be renovated and needed to be addressed in order to make our facilities fit for up-to-date for education. So we came up with a total of a $28 million project called the Centennial Project. And the first phase of that project, a $6 million project, included roofing at both the elementary school and the high school, and the new playground at the elementary school. And then phase 2 included so much more. The $22 million portion of it included cafeterias, classroom space in the high school, and classroom space in the elementary school, along with the cafeteria and kitchen over there at the elementary school as well. And a bunch of other roofing that had to be done. So as roofing gets to the end of its warranty, that's when you are allowed to, by the state's terms, be able to replace the roof. So it had been up to a 30-year roof. I think it's 30-year roof, Drew. So that brings us to now, where we still have some things that we need to address in our building condition survey, and we decided that what better way to do this other than to tack on a phase 3 and utilize some expiring debt to take on and make sure that our facilities are up to date with students and our facilities can carry forward.
Okay, so you're going to hear a lot of this repeated throughout the presentation. You know, I think it's important, and you'll see later on, that we talk about why phase 3 and why another vote. Just know that all the work since 2022 has always been student-centered. The decisions we make and the things that the committee looks at is because we want to make sure that our students are at the core of the decisions. May it be safety, or it may be modern spaces. So what will our next 100 years look like? I love these pictures, and I think it's because I taught social studies for 15 years, and I love old pictures. And this is the original Delancey High School, which opened in 1925, hence the Centennial Project. And then in 1954, when the elementary school was being constructed, what would we want our district for our children to look like in the next 100 years? So next I'm going to have Jeff make some introductions of the planning team.
So when we had started the Centennial Project, we had to go through a request for proposal portion where we had selected the best fit for Dwaynesburg, our architect and our construction managers. So joined with us actually tonight are folks from Ashley McGraw Architects and from Schoolhouse Construction, our construction manager. We also use fiscal advisors as our fiscal advisor to help us to determine affordability on projects like this.
So just really quick, up in the front row, if you want to kind of just stand and wave for everyone. So we have Drew from Ashley McGraw. All right, and then we have Catherine Wolf from Ashley McGraw, the architects. And then we have Eric Robert from Schoolhouse Construction. And then we have Henry Gent from Schoolhouse Construction. Now, Henry is in our buildings all day, every day. You see CJ here a lot too, but he actually couldn't split himself in half this evening to be here and at another school doing the same thing. So this has been a project of love with these partners, with the Buildings and Grounds Committee of the Board of Education, as well as way back when, back in 2022, when stakeholders came together and created a scope list on what we need, because you have to continually renovate your house, and what were some good wish items. All right, so Jeff can kind of walk through what that looked like.
Okay, so our time frame that we had started out for phase 3 this year, we started out in the summer of 2025 here, and we had come up with, first of all, we had looked at that building condition survey and decided that we had some needs that had to be met. And then we reached out to stakeholders to start, or we are going to be also working with stakeholder groups in our design with, especially with the Student Support Center. And we're gonna have planning meetings, and then our construction manager will continue to estimate our project to make sure that the project will fit in with our budget. And then we did our SECRA back in October 7th in the fall here, and so it brings us up to our public hearing, and then our referendum vote for this project will be on December 16th. So that is a Tuesday night in 2 weeks.
And it's the same evening as the holiday concert. All right, so I get the fun job, so I always have Jeff talk numbers, right? So I get the fun job of the why. And our partners, Chris Crowley with Fiscal Advisors, obviously guides us year to year to year. And we're gonna dive into that in a little bit. But what are our guiding principles when we think about doing capital projects? We know that there are growing needs of our students every day and every year. The needs of our students 10 years ago are not the needs today. So when we talk about the Student Support Suite, it's an area that will allow a confidential space for students and for families to enter into, having a separate entrance, and allowing for a lot of our providers to have space within that footprint. So we want to make sure that as we tackle the needs of our students, we are continually making the renovations needed. We always want to instill a sense of community pride. The gymnasium, right? That is a core of community pride where people gather, and making sure that is always a place of where if you're a family member or a community member, you walk in and either you have memories or you're making memories. We always prioritize relationship building. We want positive connections with our community and to create a safe and welcoming experience. Safety is always a balance of safety and making sure that our spaces are evolving. We want to make sure that those safety and security measures are always an integral part. Is this me? Oh, it's me again. Yay. So, update to the high school gymnasium. We had quite a few people at the tour. It was great. They got to see what's currently happening and what's going to be happening. We're going to make sure that there's new basketball hoops, new ventilation, new paint. The bleachers are still in good shape. The floor is in great shape. The padding is in great shape. The rock wall is coming down because I don't think anyone has used that in a very long time. So giving that a really great facelift and throw the safety piece in it, the new HVAC ventilation. The safety fencing at the junior senior high school baseball field, that was originally supposed to be slated for either phase 1 or phase 2. But when you go out with that wish list that the stakeholders did back in 2022, you know, you dream big, build it and they will come, but sometimes the money is not finite. So that was something that had to be carved out of phase 1 or phase 2. But we felt that it was important because as we prioritize academic areas, we know that extracurricular areas, including the gym, and our outdoor areas need a facelift as well. So we're going to renovate the original 1925 first floor. Phase 2 includes the original building. There's some renovations on the second and third floor. And then if you were on the tour, you could see it needs some love. And that's Drew's words. I love that. It needs a little love. There was some renovations to it years ago. And if you know, the guidance center doesn't have a window. But now that the cafeteria will be done, taking just that footprint of that space and reimagining what we could do with it to make it a modern, confidential, warm, and welcoming space for our children and our families. And it's going to include a new heating system. We want to continue to upgrade to our transportation, including vehicle charging stations. One of the things that we know as the world continues to grow and modernize is that both our community and our staff have electric vehicles. And we know, even though we're trying to slow the process with electric buses, one of those advocates, within the state. But let's lay the infrastructure. So it includes laying the infrastructure for 10 charging stations, but we're only going to have 2. We're going to start slow. Those 2 charging stations we intend to use districts who are visiting for athletics, and they have an electric bus they're going to need to charge. And or finding a way to a conversion kit with those 2 charging stations if we have staff members who need to charge their car. So this is why we're saying a vehicle charging station. It isn't just the site on buses. We know that in the future, more and more people are going to have electric vehicles, and for athletic competitive events, they will be coming in electric buses. And then we're so excited for this. Finalize all roofing coming out of warranty. So I know it feels like, and we say it too, we joke actually about like, more roof? When will the roof ever end? You can't, the way SED does it with roofing is you can't replace it until it comes out of warranty. If you replace it before then, you don't get aid on it. So this is why it's been phased. Each section, even though we'll be so grateful when the roof is done, the last phase of roofing comes off a warranty in 2027? 28. So in 28, when it comes off a warranty, then that finally will get done. So hopefully the new cycle won't start for another 30, oh yeah, I'll be long gone by then. I'll be 30 years, yeah.
So what phase 3 looks like is $6.9 million, and it'll be phased over the next few years. It'll start mainly in the summer of 2027 or in the spring of 2027, and it will likely carry into 2028. But it'll address that student support center, the gymnasium renovations, the electronic vehicle charging, and then some flooring repair that needs to be done in the high school, and baseball field fencing. This will make the fly ball area a little bit safer, and the big area of the elementary roof. So how we got to the $6.9 million is, let's go to the next slide. that $6.9 million is our amount that allows us to be tax neutral. So that means that we have bonds, we have a bond that's maturing because of prior capital projects. So while that will be coming off of our debt, this is a time when you can go ahead and take more debt to level out your debt. And in schools, the tax levy calculation relies a lot on what debt you have because it is an exclusion in the calculation. Also, we are going to be taking advantage of the building aid that comes back to us from the state. So it's what the state allows us to receive from them. So we receive approximately 80%, or actually 79.8% of every dollar spent. We actually get that back in building aid from the state. So this is a big ticket item to really take advantage of. If we can come up with a project, we get some money back. So, yeah.
All right, so a couple things. The first project I did 7 years ago, it really it took me a while to wrap my head around how this works. And through the years, now I'm like, okay, I get it. A few key points about what does it mean to be tax neutral? How can that be tax neutral? Where's the money coming from? So districts get money from state aid for foundation aid. Foundation aid is the money every year we get. Every school district gets it. It's per student. Foundation aid is different than building aid. It's in addition to the per pupil amount we get. So when you go out to vote in May on a budget, that's all wrapped around foundation aid, BOCES aid, transportation aid, right? We do know what we're getting in capital aid. But this is a separate vote. This is why you have to vote on it. Because what will happen, the reason why it stays tax neutral, as Jeff had said, is because as a bond matures, and that bond is cyclical, it probably was started 50 years ago. 50 years ago, the district took out a bond to do renovations. We're required to do renovations based on our building survey. So probably 50, 60, 70 years ago, bonds were started to take out. Well, no, but it replaced a bond from before it, right? That's why I'm saying it's cyclical. So bonds replace each other. And then what happens is as the bonds mature and get paid off, if you don't replace that bond, it messes up your tax levy. It makes it sink very quickly. But then what happens is in a year or two, when we are required to do renovations, so like the roof, because it comes off warranty in 2028, or ventilation systems that aren't to code, or pick a card. Then we have to go to the community and say, guess what, we need $10 million more because we're required, we have to keep this building safe. Just like your home, right? You do renovations to keep it safe. Your boiler breaks, you fix it. The roof caves in, you fix it. So by replacing the bond that's maturing with another bond, it keeps it stable. And it doesn't have the taxes, or your taxes drop really quickly and then spike really high. So that's how it remains tax neutral. We're not asking the community to give $1 more towards this project. Hope that makes sense.
So this is a look at our current debt. So you can see that that bond matures in 2029, which would be when we would logically take that debt back out to level out with this. So the red line is where we currently are based on the debt tax levy, or you can see that we're paying for the tax levy, within the tax levy, we're paying for that debt right there on that first line in 2028. So that's where it starts to fall off. So in order to stay on that red line, or what we are allowed to do with the $6.9 million, is fill that area with new debt that fills that debt that actually had matured. That allows our finances with building aid and our tax exclusions to stay level. And that way we don't have fluctuations in our tax levy and our state aid that will be coming to the district. So in that yellow section, that would be the new debt that would come on with that $6.9 million. And then, so just to kind of recap what happens if we do not keep our steady debt for the district, it does create instability with taxes because, again, that debt is a large portion of the tax cap calculation. So you may see it decrease in 1 year, and then when needs come up for the school and there's instructional needs or there's new teachers that are needed, it really creates a challenge to try and increase the tax levy on those years because you may be looking at trying to exceed the tax cap calculation, which adds many challenges for not only for the community, but also you could be seeing larger increases on your tax levy than we really desire. So then also with this this building work, we will also see the building aid again. This is the almost 80% that would be coming back to us. So if you don't take on this opportunity, we start to lose that building aid that we are receiving right now in our revenue side of the budget.
Yep. Again, I get to do the fun part. So if you did the tour, right, it's really important to know where we've been and where we're going. And just connecting the different phases and making sure that this is a win for everyone because we continue to renovate spaces that we're required to renovate spaces that we know we need to renovate, and then make sure that we are keeping the taxes within the community stable. So there we go. So here is, Jeff gets to do the fun thing. You sure?
Go ahead.
All right, so more roof, right? Who doesn't like a good picture of a roof? So roofing, and then you're going to see the bus garage. This is a blessing in disguise with the bus garage. And it justifies why we have to do this work and why SAD requires us to do it. One of the things that happened with the bus garage, the board's aware of this, and we talked about it in open session, is that when they were doing some of the restorations there, and they got into the foundation, was it 2 sides? 2 sides of the foundation? 1 or 2 sides of the foundation? Yeah, 1 for sure, I think it was 2, where it was like hollow and crumbling. So then you go, whoa, everybody stops, right? And they go in and they have to reinforce it. Again, I don't know the technical terms. But doing these renovations and starting to dig into the bus garage, we are able to restabilize it. Without discovering that, maybe 5 years from now or 7 years from now, it could have been a very disastrous situation. And then you're going to see there is the playground. The playground was actually complete. This is an aerial view. And then the spaces in the 300 wing in the elementary school, which actually right now, they're doing 3 rooms at a time. They're doing all the finishing work, the flooring, the casework. Some of the teachers are displaced for a few weeks, but then they get to go back to a brand new space. And then the wing, the 100 wing here at the junior senior building. And both cafeterias. Right, so the cafeteria right now here is under construction, slated to be done in February, and then the crews go over to the elementary school. If you've ever tuned into any of the board meetings prior, the renderings are beautiful of the cafeterias. I think when it's complete, folks are going to walk in and they're just going to be blown away. They are absolutely beautiful. We're grateful, Ashley McGraw, for their great eye.
So As a part of the $6.9 million project for Phase 3, here are the areas that we will be looking at to improve on. So this area that is shaded for the vehicle charging, it's kind of just a general location, just an idea. We haven't completely decided where it's going to be, but in that general vicinity. And then the roof replacement, you can see that's a pretty large area of the elementary roof that covers our elementary office and then also several of the classrooms. So this is that area the only area that hasn't been completed as a part of the Centennial Phase 1 and 2.
Sure. All right, so here is the junior senior scope plans, the middle school and high school. So we talked about the gymnasium renovations, and that's number 1, basketball hoops, facelift, new HVAC system. And then 2 is the student support suite. So you're gonna see on the map where we're gonna take that footprint as a clean slate and start over and see what great imaginative things that Ashley McGraw comes up with. And then 3 is an interesting area. There was the terrazzo flooring and a couple of corners, for whatever reason, are buckling. And so we want to get ahead of it before it gets worse. So they'll try and figure out where the moisture's coming from and then replace that terrazzo flooring there. Now I'll do baseball. So there's the baseball field, the fencing. As you can see, there's no fencing now, is there? There's a fence, but right, it's not high enough. Maybe the balls won't hit our cars in the parking lot. Maybe. Well, anybody's head. So really making sure that we have a newer fence for safety purposes. This is money, so he talks.
So that wraps up the major portion of Phase 3. It's a $6.9 million project. That is what will be on the vote on December 16th, and it'll encompass over the 2027, 2028 in the summers, mainly in the summers, but. And that is it. Questions, comments?
Questions, comments? Santina? Oh.
What would be the interest rate we'd be paying on the loans we'd be taking out?
You're so smart.
Good question. I'm not sure because it'll be based on market at the time when we take out the ban. All right. So
What are we paying now?
so we're paying around, yeah. There is. Yep, that's right. So there is a DASNY option too that helps to offset the payments on like interest rates and all that too. So I think that it's tough to say because buses and between buses and buildings, there's different rates and they're all in my head. So it's really tough to give you a number right now. But it would really be based on market and when we actually do go to take out that ban, that's some time from now at this point. So it's really tough to navigate what the interest rate will be for that.
I was just going to say, so a ban and a bond. So when you're starting the project, you take a ban, and when the project's all done, it goes to a bond. That's simple.
It's in simple terms, yes. The ban is only a 1-year term where it allows you to take out your funds and then balance when you're going to take your 15-year bond, depending on how. So that allows us to basically plan for how that debt is going to come on. So once we take out that ban, it'll allow us to put that bond exactly right where it belongs to carry that debt so that there's zero impact on the tax levy.
And it's a great question, and what we can do is, Tricia, she's gonna put stuff up on the website to update folks. We will get, like what the current rate is, but like Jeff said, 2 years from now, it could be different, right? So give or take, but just know that it does fluctuate. So remember, all right, she's giving me the thumbs up, so we'll get a more specific answer. Any other questions?
Yeah, I had a question. When you were talking about the DASNY with incentives or something, is I didn't quite hear what that was.
I know a little bit to be dangerous,
Okay.
and what I'll share is working with other schools and Dwaynesburg here. Schools are offered an option where they can finance through DASNY, the Dormitory Authority of New York. So if the rates, and Jeff, please correct me a little bit but if the rates are not attractive to the school district, they can always fall back on a DASNY option, which don't quite creep up as much as the public or the private market does.
So
if
the
you will.
terms and the interest rates could be more favorable with a
At
DASNY
times they are. It's
lender?
kind of, how I hear the other financial advisors kind of word it is, it's a safety net,
Okay.
and I think sometimes it hovers around 5% or so. So if all of a sudden, what's available to the district is higher than that, they can always, go to their option of financing through the Dormitory Authority of New York.
So why wouldn't we just do that right away if the terms and the interest rate was
Well,
better?
it's because, as Jeff had mentioned, we just don't know today. And it could be that when it's time to do that it could be much more attractive for the district to go with other financing outside of DASNY.
Fair,
So it's
okay.
kind of something that the district can wait and see, and they can weigh their options for when the time comes and select what's most favorable.
Okay, so we'd have a couple different buckets to choose from when the time comes.
Yeah.
Exactly, and we're
Yeah.
in this short-term
Does
debt.
that help?
Is that what we're saying, this ban is like a short-term debt until we get to our long-term debt, which is more stable, our bond for a longer time? Okay, thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I'm doing my teacher pause. All right. Nice job, Mr. Rivenberg.
Nice job, Ms. Ross.
I'm so lucky to have such a great team around me because I'd forget my own lunchbox. So we learned our lesson on Tuesday, right? We just kept going like, it's not going to snow. It hasn't snowed in years. So we are having a snow date for December 16th. Do we have that date yet? No? December 17th, thank you. So if we have another round like we did on Tuesday, we will obviously do what's required of public notice because we have time, and we'll put out that the snow date is December 17th. You're supposed to do it a week in advance if you're changing the date. But here's the thing. If we don't set a snow date, I learned this too the other day, that so the referendum in Bethlehem had to be changed. It's a 45-day window. So by going out now and saying our snow date is December 17th, hopefully it won't be one of those 3-day storms, but if we happen to have a snowstorm, we can move it to the next day.
And you've aligned with the music department on that date?
Aligned with what? Because we're in the library.
But
Oh,
the plan is
you-
to have it at the same time as the concert.
Oh, thank you. I'm assuming so. Yes. Jody shaking her head yes. All right. Thank you.
Are we okay to carry on? Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, so our next item up is our recognitions for the month. As If you've been here before, you know that we like to recognize students and employees and community members that have gone above and beyond over the last month. So this month we want to recognize our drama club. Shout out to the drama club because they had a phenomenal performance, well, performances, over the weekend just before Thanksgiving. DCS Sings Broadway, that's their fundraiser for the year, and also just a way to showcase everyone in the drama club in their singing and acting and dancing abilities. So congratulations to you guys. I got a couple of them in the room, I know. So let's see. Also, a big thank you to Mrs. Mary Claire Waltz, Mrs. Amanda Chauvin, and all of the staff and faculty members that helped to make the annual Veterans Day Assembly a success. If you haven't been to the Veterans Day Assembly at the elementary school, please go next year. Pay attention to those dates and mark your calendar. It really is a very special event. And we have a collaboration with our high school band and choir as well, and it's just a really beautiful event. In addition to all the folks at school, we want to thank the DCPTA because they provided a buffet breakfast for all of our veterans as soon as the Veterans Day Assembly was over. And they're always very appreciative of that, which is awesome. And shout out to our kitchen staff because they prepared a lot of that and they had everything ready to go for the PTA, which was awesome. And then finally, we have a couple of senior students that have committed to D1 schools. We have one senior student committed to Mercyhurst University to continue her softball career and pursue pre-physical therapy studies. And then another senior student who's committed to St. Bonaventure University to continue her cross-country and track career while she majors in business and marketing. You're scribbling furiously. Should I wait? Oh, yes, and to our buildings and grounds, and Jeff and Anand for snow blowing and managing from the tournament, right? Yes, from the Thanksgiving tournament, and of course it snowed, which was made a little bit of a mess and a challenge for everyone. So if anybody hadn't noticed, winter has arrived. So, okay. Anybody else that I've missed or anything else anybody wants to mention? Okay. Next item is the board discussion of this evening's agenda. Any comments or questions? Do we have any changes to the agenda, Serena? Okay, so no changes since it was released. Okay. Then in that case, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approve the agenda for the regular meeting of this evening, December 4th, 2025. May I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Francis. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tony. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Okay, excuse me. Our next item on the agenda is public comment. Sorry. Okay, board encourages public participation at board meetings during specific portion called privilege of the floor. The public comment section is not the time or place to register complaints about individuals or items that have not first been addressed through proper channels with those closest to the issue, such as the teacher, building principal, or superintendent, or other appropriate party. Individuals making statements during privilege of the floor are expected to be courteous and respectful, modeling for our students how one can participate and have their voice heard in situations where there is agreement or disagreement with others' views. If members of the public have gone through proper channels and still wish to discuss a matter with the board, they can submit their comments in writing to the board. The board clerk. At its discretion, the board may invite visitors to its meetings to participate in its discussion of matters on the agenda. Just some notes, public comment is an opportunity for residents and residents only to address the Board of Education. It only takes place during the portion of the agenda that we've designated. Persons wishing to address the board should indicate their desire to speak on our sign-in sheet, which we have done. Let's see. Because we have many business items, speakers must confine their comments to 3 minutes. The board cannot address specific questions or comments in the public comment space, but we may ask for your name and contact information in the event that follow-up is necessary. And please note that we will not permit in public session discussion involving individual personnel or students. Persons wishing to discuss matters involving individual personnel or students should present their comments or concerns to the superintendent, who can then share them with the board at the next executive session. Okay, so with all of that said, I have a few people on our list that signed in and a couple that mentioned they would like to speak. So starting with Deanna Fox.
Thank you. 2 minutes? 3 minutes? Well, I prepped for 2, so that's even better. All right. So my name's, excuse me, Deanna Fox. I live on Weaver Road, and I have 2 students in the high school. And I'm here to speak about some concerns regarding communication and school culture here at Duanesburg. I think this impacts many families, not just my own. For years, I've been reporting a bullying concern regarding one of my children to counselors, teachers, and administrators. I've been talking about this since 4th grade, and those concerns have continued. The communication has continued, yet communication from the school has been minimal, inconsistent, or at times entirely absent. When serious incidents occur, including physical harm and hateful language directed towards my own child, we simply were not notified by administration. Maybe behavioral issues or concerns were being tracked internally. We were not informed, so we couldn't support any sort of intervention at home. Instead of timely collaboration, we experienced silence until disciplinary actions were taken. This reactive approach prevents families from being partners in resolution and leaves problems to escalate unchecked. More broadly, communication within the school system, seemingly between teachers, coaches, counselors, and administrators, are fragmented. Concerns observed in classrooms or athletic settings are not consistently elevated to support teams or administration, and as a result, warning signs are missed and opportunities for early intervention are lost. Too often, families are brought into situations only after an issue escalates rather than being included when solutions could be effectuated. Equally concerning is the broader school culture. Many students report hearing misogynistic, anti-Semitic, and racist language within the school environment. When these behaviors are not addressed openly and consistently, they become very normalized. A culture develops where harmful behavior feels tolerated, victims feel unprotected, and students are left to fend for themselves rather than rely on adult intervention. Students have also shared that speaker assemblies intended to address these concerns are not taken seriously, and in some cases actually lead to an increase in inappropriate behavior afterward. Without meaningful follow-up or accountability, these assemblies fail to mitigate the problem and reinforce the perception that responses are simply performative rather than effective. Teachers have shared that some students choose to self-isolate socially to avoid conflict. Instead of activating additional support, these warning signs are often siloed within classrooms and not elevated to counselors or administration. Another example of internal communication breakdowns. Communication and culture are definitely not separate issues. They are deeply connected. When schools communicate clearly and partner effectively with families, problems are addressed early and students remain safe. When communication fails and concerns go unanswered, especially for the years that I've experienced, students pay the price. So I urge the board to prioritize strengthening staff communication protocols, definitely improving parental notification standards, responding more consistently to family concerns, and implementing meaningful, sustained interventions that address and not just acknowledge these cultural issues. Thanks. Yep.
Thank you, Deanna. It was perfect timing, perfect timing. Thank you so much, Deanna. Okay, next up we have Mr. Guidel, Gus Guidel.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gus Vidal. I live on Duane Lake Road. Thank you very much for listening to me. I wanted to kind of bring forward a topic that my wife and I had about our kids. We're really interested in ensuring that our kids have the opportunity to meet their goals that they really have been striving for a number of years. And you guys may have kind of heard this conversation previously, but I wanted to kind of let you know and kind of advocate for a conversation that I started with Coach Simpson about 6 months ago. And then my wife and I both met with Coach Simpson, then we met with Miss Marvin, and then we had a conversation at the end of October with Miss Ross. We were interested in trying to find a way that our boys will have the opportunity to play high school lacrosse in partnership with one of the other school districts around the area. We understand that it is not one of the programs that Duanesburg offers, but we also understand that Duanesburg is one of those schools that wants to give kids the opportunity to meet their goals. Both of our boys play at a high-level club around the capital region. The oldest one, Nathan's, already been having aspirations to want to be able to play in college. And as we're going through the recruiting process, being on a high school program is one of those key things. So it was kind of the impetus to say, what can we do with the school? So we've kind of gone through the conversation with the school district. And while I know nothing has come of it yet, I hope that there's a time when Ms. Ross can bring it to you guys and you will be open and supportive of more opportunities for our kids. Because I think regardless of where we are as a district, we can all agree on one thing, that we want there to be opportunities for our kids. We want them to be able to succeed. We want them to be able to meet their goals. And whatever we can do to be able to help them meet that is definitely a ambition that we all have. So thank you.
Thank you, Gus. Goodness, sorry. Okay. I know that that was the only two that had marks that they'd like to speak, but before I move on, is there anyone else that had anything that they wanted to say? Okay. All right, very good. Thank you so much. Next up, yes, okay, is our previous Board of Education minutes. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the minutes of the regular meeting on November 4th, 2025. May I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Lissa. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ray. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. On to what is quickly becoming one of my favorite parts of the meeting, although I do like the recognitions as well. Our ex officio student board member reports. So who's starting out today? Santino?
I think
Okay.
you have a presentation.
Oh, you have a presentation even? Yes, I saw that. Okay. All right. Fantastic.
Ari, do you want to help him?
Oh, this darn technology. All right. All right. Okay, so if you remember from last meeting, I mentioned the Washington, D.C. trip and the government shutdown, which was an impetus to that. And there were a lot of concerns about the trip and whether activities would be comparable to what was promised when a lot of people signed up and all that. And I'm happy to report that the tour company organized it very well, and everybody was able to have an amazing time. There's very few complaints that I heard. And I have some pictures up here from the trip. Right there, you can see on the left the Martin Luther King Memorial. That was a fun one. The tour guide had a lot to say about the civil rights movement and a lot of related history to that and some cool stories. A lot of symbolism there that a lot of people appreciated. In the top middle there, you can see the president and vice president, who we were very close to. We saw them speak at the Arlington Cemetery on Veterans Day, which was very fun. It's fun to see, to be so close to all those powerful figures and all that. And you can see 2 pictures of the Capitol there too, and the Lincoln Memorial. We were able to go to all the memorials and monuments and all that. That wasn't affected by the government shutdown. And it was really just the museums and the Capitol tour that we couldn't do. But like I said before, the company was able to make good work out of the situation, and it was very fun. I don't know the exact number. 45, yeah. I do know that a lot of underclassmen are really excited for trips in the future. I know that's something that a lot of students want to keep continuing. And it would be based on precedent in 2 years or so, but there's a lot of excitement for doing that in the future. In the local news, in the school, one of our service organizations, one of the service clubs, Leo Club, recently hosted a wreath making day to generate funds to sponsor a family for community service and that sort of thing. And they've also been operating the Eagles Outlet in the school. If you were on the construction tour, you would have seen the room that it's in. And it helps give clothing to a lot of students in need in the district and whoever needs it for free of charge, which is a big help to, like I said, those who need it. Along with that, as President Peterson mentioned earlier, the Waynesburg Sings Broadway from the DCS Drama Club happened a week ago, or a week or two. I don't know remember the exact date, but that was very fun, and we're able to generate lots of funds for that musical that'll be happening later this year, which is Once Upon a Mattress. But that's great. And there was also the DCS hosted basketball tournament, which Dwaynesburg won, of course. And also, I want to mention Ms. Ross's superintendent advisory meetings that we had the first meeting a week ago, last Friday, which was very productive. There was a lot of dialogue we had there on district issues. Yes, it was very fun. Food was good too. Yeah, we had it during lunch, so. But that's a pathway to a lot of resolution to issues in the district. It was found to be very productive and something we like to continue in the future. But that's all I have. I'd like to invite Ari up here to talk about some of the NHS stuff. The microphone's here.
There's a mic up there, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I'd like an encore if I'm just Ken, please.
So our National Honor Society has also been busy at work these past couple of weeks. We had our National Honor Society blood drive where we had 25 out of 29 slots filled, and we had 25 donors, which was great. I think some people who are here donated, so that was really great to see the community, especially the bus drivers and a lot of teachers' aides. It was great to see so many people from the school who are donating. And we're also working on a recycling grant project, which I think got submitted earlier in November, to help our school be more productive in recycling and be able to be proactive, as that's something that I know we've had issues with in the past, and we really wanted to be able to secure this funding from the National Honor Society to be able to kind of further that. So that's something that we're looking forward to hopefully securing in the next couple of months, and hopefully getting some recycling going at the school, especially at the high school. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, I know this is exigent right now because we're going to be going through the read of the new student fundraising policy, and this actually came up because students have been starting to raise money for their classes early this year. We've had lots of different fundraisers. We've been selling literally everything. I can't even name a single one. So some students who are selling items for their class benefits have been confused on the rules relating to accepting donations, not soliciting donations, but if they're allowed to accept donations. And this is something I've been wondering as well. So I also am a Girl Scout, and when we sell for Girl Scouts, a lot of times we will get monetary donations, and we're allowed to accept those as Girl Scouts. But in the school, we have been unsure if that's something we're allowed to do or what the process for that looks like. So we want to kind of looking forward to doing that, make sure that there is clarification when we're drafting these new policies, because a lot of students were confused on that and a lot of teachers were confused on that as well. So it's just something that we want to have a little bit more guidance on from the policies. And then I didn't put this on here, but I did just want to mention this with the discussion of the third phase of the capital project. and the idea of this student support suite that is something that I know I've heard a lot of support for. If you don't know, our guidance counselors are currently residing in the library, which it can be chaotic at times. And I know if I was in a situation where I really wanted confidentiality, I wouldn't want to hear teachers yelling at middle schoolers right down the hall while that was happening. So I think that that's something that there is a lot of student support for and there is a real need for. So I'm looking forward to that and seeing how that project progresses. And I think that's it.
Do any board members have any questions for our students? Nice job, guys. Nice job. All right. Oh, excuse me again. Next up, we have superintendent's report. What do you have for us, Ms. Ross?
I can't be trusted. Thank you, Ari and Santino. And I know Ari and I had a little bit of a discussion about we're so grateful that you guys are here and that, just similar with our family members and our community members, right? We're going to grow and learn that like concerns should start at the building principal level and then the superintendent and then brought to the board, and you guys are super respectful. And as for the fundraising, completely agree, it's confusing. There is a policy out there that we'll look at how do we reference it in the draft. And I had shared with Ari, the rules are different for schools. Like any donation has to be accepted by the board. If it's a table or a washing machine or a car or money, right? So again, we'll try to make sure there's clarity so that if you're confused, then other people are confused as well. So great feedback, thank you. All right, so as for my update, I just want to piggyback on Gus. So some athletic updates. So thank you, Gus and Heather, for, as I just referenced, like with Santino and Ari, taking the proper steps, starting with the athletic director, moving on to the principal, and then me. If you know me, I'm all about, when I say all means all. And when kids have opportunities, dreams, and goals, if I can make it happen, I want to. So there's always the concern about new teams here at Duanesburg, right? Because we don't necessarily have enough kids who want to play sports. But there are some kids who have different interests that we don't offer here. It's not a lot. So like, for example, we have some students who like to go swim. So we have currently 2 students who will be swimming for the next 5 years and making arrangements so that they can follow their dreams. So when speaking with Heather and Gus, I had said, this is, for me, the same example. No, we financially can't afford to start a lacrosse team, nor can we necessarily field a lacrosse team. I know in the past, when this was looked into, it was a hard no from a neighboring district. And there was reasons for that. But because I just want to I want kids to have what they need and fulfill their dreams, I did do some asking around, and the Chalmont Mohon Schenectady team is willing to merge with us for lacrosse for the 2 students. We thought we had a hiccup as of last night, and I lost sleep over this last night because there is a January 1 deadline for the paperwork to be in, which makes it tight. In the paperwork, it says that it needs board approval, which we know we can't do. All 4 districts can't do it in the month. So I actually, as a Hail Mary, I called Section 2, and I talked to Steve Nolan, who is the Section 2, he oversees all mergers. He's on that committee. And he said, oh, no, just get your paperwork in by January 1st. And then let the boards have discussion, all 4 boards. Have discussions. The superintendents will work out the logistics, what the cost is going to be, things like that, so that all 4 boards are informed. All that matters is you put the paperwork in, and then you just have a board resolution by the time the season starts. So that made me feel better, like, okay, is this an option? Now, we haven't got it across the finish line. Another big hurdle, Section 2 could say no. That's always an option, and Heather and Gus both acknowledge that, but I want to know at least I tried. I want to try. If we're told no, we're told no, okay. So we're one step closer. I did send an email to all the district's ADs and the superintendents. Schenectady is a bigger machine than us, so Dr. Cotto is wonderful, and he's always been a wonderful partner. I don't foresee it being a challenge. I don't think they send many players anyways. I think they only send a few kids as well to play lacrosse, but same concept. Kids have this interest. Why can't we make it happen?